friends. Harvey Michaels here. Welcome back to our wild ride with Danshui President Plunge Spear Bloom, a story that had me on the edge of my seat while writing it. I'm excited to share a taste with you today. If you're new here, go ahead and tap that like button and subscribe. You won't want to miss what's coming next. All right, let's jump in.
Chapter 10, Part 3. Willie, Ibi, Shen, Paul, and Teddy. After surgery to remove the spear from his backside, Willie's half-drugged waking thought after his reflection on the differences between the clinic room he shared with Wanda 35 years ago was an urge to ride a bicycle. Long ago, Willie frequently rode bikes with Pieface and Wanda after first riding only with Wanda. Once Willie enjoyed riding with Pieface too, that was a sign of healing, of Willie admitting he liked Pieface too. After Pieface was murdered, Willie's obsessive-compulsive hatred of Russ found an exception with his bicycles, which just sat. He finally threw all three of them away in a fit of rage after one dead end too many in his search for Pieface's killer. Willie imagined telling Dee about this bike riding revelation, triggering a crying jag. There in his hospital bed he cried hard, worrying in anguish about Dee, and hoping, looking forward to telling Dee he wants to ride again with his new friend Ahua. A nurse in the doorway noticed Willie was waking from surgery, but was conflicted what to do, what to say, assuming his skewered backside was smarting and upsetting him. Outside the intensive care unit, behind the large seating area, Willie stands, leaning against a four-wheeled rolling walker. The walker has a seat, but Willie is days away from sitting. For now, his doctor wants Willie to walk more each day. There is an unopened water bottle on the walker seat. It's not convenient to pick it up, but Willie likes having a water bottle nearby. Instead, Willie fingers the small plastic bag with his next pain pill pinned to his hospital gown shirt. Willie remembers what time it is because in a few minutes he can take that pill. Just as soon as they say he can, Willie takes each pain pill, the exception being his hour with Dawn earlier that afternoon. His scalp lance wound stings slightly, but he has a low tolerance for the intense aching in his rear end and all around what he calls his rib hole. He rode an elevator and hobbled over to the ICU wing, thinking he could glimpse his friend, maybe see in some windows, but there are none. Dee is still unconscious. His body is being kept at a lower temperature for a few days. Doctors are cautiously hopeful that medically induced coma will better allow his wounds and his heart to take the first healing steps. Willie is tremendously relieved to see Ibi coming out of the ICU large hissing double doors. He squeezes the brake on his walker and waves, "Ibi! Ibi, over here!" Colonel Sun also walks out from the ICU behind Ibi. Sun removes his surgical mask, and when he sees Willie's clean-shaven face, baggy hospital gown, and his four-wheeled walker, Colonel Sun hides a big smile behind his meaty hand. From different rows in the ICU waiting room seats, Paul Hu and Teddy stand up and walk over. Paul goes to Colonel Sun and Teddy walks over to Ibi's side. Everyone nods at each other in greeting. "Ibi, how is he?" Willie asks intently. "His vital signs are steady. Tomorrow they might bring him out of the coma." Ibi sighs and blows out a big exhale of tension. A bothered expression crosses her face. "Someone tell me about the paddles. Everyone is whispering about paddles behind my back. They act like I'm not supposed to know about something." Wang Sanbao paid for a pacemaker and portable defibrillator and ordered they install it in Dee's heart at the beginning of surgery. Colonel Sun lightly squeezes Ibi's shoulder and explains, looking pained. Yes, I heard about that, and it automatically activated the paddles 12 times during the surgery, Ibi, Shun says. Ibi cries and right away laughs. That man, what else will he do? No one asks if she's talking about Dee or Wang Sanbao. Ibi introduces Teddy to Colonel Sun. Hello, Teddy. It's been a long time. Colonel Sun shakes his hand. We've met? Teddy's head tilts, curious. 2008. I was around for your family catastrophe. I believe you were the hero on that day. I remember, and I salute you, Teddy. Colonel Sun is so frequently sarcastic, it takes you by surprise when he's serious. He gives Teddy a crisp salute. Willie's pain meds discombobulate him. For some reason, he wants to salute too. When he moves to stand straighter and join in, acknowledging Teddy's bravery 8 years earlier, which saved his friend, he forgets his wound and shifts his legs sideways, sending a shooting pain across both sides of his rear end. Willie gasps in pain, which sounds like a sob. When Willie gasps, it starts Teddy and Ibi both crying, and they embrace. Colonel Sun and Paul Hu exchange a knowing look. Their sympathy for Ibi and Teddy slightly undercut, seeing how Willie's backside wounds are what triggered the outburst of tears. Teddy and Ibi finish their anguished weeping and calm down fast, like a passing finger of a typhoon storm. Changing a subject around the awkwardly quiet group, Paul asks, Willie, how did you do it? How did you figure it out and get inside Kingfish's outfit? Before answering, Willie scrunches his shoulders down low and tests Ibi and Teddy. Did you two know Paul Hu here tried to blow the whistle on the corrupt and maniacal Captain Ting in 2007? Their faces, jaw-slackened expressions of wonder, say they didn't know. Enjoying their astonishment, Willie continues. Paul Hu was suspended from his job in Taichung County and still tried to push what he knew but couldn't prove until they ran him out of town. He transferred to Taipei, but only because Colonel Sun, big guy here, intervened when they wanted to fire him for insubordination. In the end, his example rubbed off or made others feel bad enough to do the right thing. One more debt of gratitude Taiwan owes you, Officer Hu. Colonel Sun quickly salutes Paul and winks at him. Sun does not finish the story. How Paul Hu tracked, found, and stopped Captain Ting from firing more shots that day. How Paul Hu gave Ting's arrest to the sergeant who did him wrong and left Taichung taking no part in any police victory celebrations. Willie smiles at Colonel Sun and jerks both hands, palms up, off the handlebar brakes on his four-wheel walker toward the others when he was done to ask if they knew. Grinning and looking back and forth from Paul to Willie, Ibi says, You are just full of surprises. No one asks if she means Paul or Willie. Colonel Sun rotates an index finger in circles to encourage Willie to get on with his story. It was always about getting justice for Pieface. You all know that, right? I got a lucky break when I found Turtle Skipper's daughter's first martial arts teacher who had moved to Canada. One thing led to another, and it all pointed to Kingfish. Willie says nothing about the regret and guilt he feels over his pride and blind lust for revenge. Likewise, he does not share how he is still irrationally afraid of chin whiskers touching his chest, reminding him of his most helpless, spear-filled moment. How the horror revisits him, the desperate urge to free himself from zip ties and that room. How he longs to tell Dee what is still zip-tied inside himself. Willie speaks while twisting and untwisting the cap of the water bottle he gingerly bent over to pick up, eager to take his medicine. While withholding some incriminating wordage, Willie says enough to give away that he's been illegally spying. For 4 or 5 months he scouted around Kingfish until 3 weeks ago he heard Final Countdown in conversations with Kingfish's sons and their A-team and noticed when their line group went dark a week before the typhoon. Willie never discovered enough to ask for help or tell Colonel Shun about his progress. Doctors walk over from the intensive care door and interrupt Willie. "Mrs. Fisher, could I have a moment of your time, please? We are extending Andrew's treatment for one more day, and we are gradually reducing the dosage of the sedatives. So there's a possibility he may begin to show signs of waking within the next 24 hours, though it's important to understand that our definition of awake may differ from what you might expect." The speaking doctor looks down at Dee's medical chart in his hand. While cleaning the bullet's interior trajectory path exit wound, we unintentionally dislodged the bullet fragment that was already there, rubbing your husband's spine with a spike protruding from that shrapnel. We came to understand only after the surgery your husband's previous doctors advised against dislodging it. However, it appeared to be loosened when we cleaned the wound, and frankly, we didn't know about the earlier bullet wound history until we were well into the surgery Saturday night. His forehead muscles tighten, choosing his words carefully. Your husband will most likely make a full recovery with no spinal after effect. However, you should know he may suffer an unexpected spinal anomaly. We are required to inform you of this in case you think an unexpected side effect is our fault and or we were negligent for not previously informing you. They excuse themselves, and ex-attorney Ibi lifts an eyebrow at Colonel Sun. She whispers, "They should be lawyers with all that liability twisty talk." With a grin and an exaggerated wave of his eyebrows and hands, Willie directs his gratitude at the doctor who gave him the cardboard-mounted spear pulled from Willie's scalp. Evie turns, her focus shifting to the young doctor standing alone, waiting to speak with her. "Hi, my name is Dr. Peter. I just want to say that all of Dee's signs are wonderful. He is perfectly stable. He was strong before this, and I feel very hopeful, Mrs. Fisher. Many people are praying for Dee's full recovery, too." He vigorously nods and smiles optimistically. "You should be able to speak with him tomorrow. I truly believe it." "Thank you, Dr. Peter," Evie says. Her gathered friends all nod and show relief. "Mrs. Fisher, has anyone told you how fortunate it was that Dee had been fasting?" Dr. Peter shakes his head inquiringly. So does everyone else. "No? The outcome otherwise might have been disastrous. Dee's stomach and intestines were cleaned out so well, so ideally. The potential for many common disasters in emergency surgeries, contamination of the surgery area by bacteria in semi-digested food, and also post-surgery infections were all minimized greatly." Dr. Peter beams a smile. Everyone there wants to kiss him. Sanbao and 8 girls. Evie sits near Sanbao's bed, glancing at the steady rise and fall of his chest. Dee, still in the ICU, had fallen asleep after breakfast. The nurse said he'd likely rest for hours. The Wang's identities had been concealed for over 20 years out of prescribed caution, preventing these 3 unnamed friends from meeting in person before the plunge. But now, with all their enemies slain or identified, the need for secrecy had finally lifted. Each time Ibi dropped by, they talked about everyone in each of their families, sometimes letting memories bubble up from their past. Stories pieced together over years of letters Ibi had sent to their secret friends. Pearl occupies the chair opposite, each keeping quiet company with the other. Sanbao's hospital room feels heavy with reflection, though lighter now than during Dee's graver days post-surgery. Colonel Sun appears at the door, his presence as abrupt as always. His sharp gaze flicks over them before he speaks in a low, deliberate tone. "Wait here," he says, addressing Pearl and Evie with a curt nod. Without waiting for a response, he steps into the hallway and out of sight. Moments later, the doors open and 8 young women enter. Sanbao blinks in confusion, unsure who they are or why they form a semicircle at the foot of his bed. They stand as though rehearsed, 4 pairs, 2 each from Thailand, Vietnam, the Philippines, and Taiwan. Pearl gasps, covering her mouth. Ibi's eyes widen in recognition. Sanbao only stares, his brow furrowed in thought. It has been 20 years since the rescue, the Odd family's harrowing mission to free 8 children kidnapped and taken into China. Sanbao had financed the effort, seeking to save a single Taiwanese girl. Willie, Wanda, Pieface, and Dee sensed it was their urgent assignment from God to get the kidnapped girl back. They prepared an escape plan with contingencies, which were all useless when it turned out there were 8 young children to rescue, not only 1. In the end, the Odd family had pulled off the impossible, slipping past corrupt police and criminal networks with 8 children in tow. Miracles more than planning had ensured their escape. But these aren't children any longer. They are women, poised, radiant, and unmistakably the same 8 whose lives Sanbao had quietly guided from the shadows. 6 of them, once destitute, now thrived, thanks to the unseen threads of his philanthropy. And over the years, he had ensured they stayed connected, their bond unbroken by time or distance. One woman steps forward, her voice trembling as she addresses him in fluent English. "These many years, we prayed for Angel, the one who helped us escape. We thanked God for Angel and asked to meet Angel on this side of heaven. Now we rejoice because you are Angel." Her words falter, tears spilling freely. The others join her, weeping as they clasp hands. Sanbao's breath hitches. "Angel," he whispers, his voice cracking. He looks at the first speaker, his own eyes welling up. "That was my mother's name. She gave her life to save another." The room fills with quiet sobs and trembling laughter. The nurses peek in from the doorway, unsure whether to intervene. One by one, the women step forward, introducing themselves. Mali from Thailand is the first, pressing Sanbao's hand to her face as she whispers, "My angel." She shows him a photograph of her family, her husband and 2 toddlers beaming outside their family supermarket. Then, as if no time had passed, she squeezes his arm, shoulder to wrist, the same way she had 20 years ago, a gesture so familiar it brings tears to her eyes. "Your children?" Sanbao asks. She nods and smiles, but she is too overcome with emotion to speak more. The others' eyes fill with similar surging emotions. All the grown girls glance back and forth, silently agreeing no one will rush Mali's feelings, her hesitation to step away from Sanbao. Sumali, Mali's neighbor in Bangkok, comes next, the tallest then and now. When she can't speak right away, her hands busy by instinct, she straightens Sanbao's hospital gown, smoothing it with care, just as she had done when the 8 first became sisters through trauma, before breaking down in tears. She kisses his cheek and finally finds her voice. "My angel," she says softly, her words trembling with gratitude. "I don't know where I'd be without you." She finds the strength to say, which generates from behind a tearful chorus, "Yes, yes, yes." Next, From Vietnam, Kim and Han approach. They linger with shy smiles, sharing photos and cherished memories. Each takes a turn whispering something heartfelt to their angel, words too private for anyone else to hear. During their escape, Kim revealed her love of sketching and her sharp eye for low-lying detail, always inspecting the ground wherever they went. This habit, born from her grandmother's tragic death by snake bites, soon became second nature to the others as well, and Han's sweet, lilting Vietnamese folk songs brought comfort during their harrowing escape. Han had another gift passed to the others as well, for whispering secrets and reassurances, a habit that turned every moment into something intimate and safe. Han and Kim are followed by Lu Ning and Cheska from the Philippines. They had looked like twins 20 years before, and the business partners still look like sisters. Lu Ning's hearty laugh fills the room, but it quickly dissolves into sobs, tears flowing freely as the memories overwhelm her. Drugged and abducted, separated from family, threatened with the others in nightmarish ways in a horrible place before their rescue, the others immediately snapped their fingers in solidarity. A gesture Lu Ning taught them during their darkest days, a symbol of unspoken strength. Cheska, her loyal companion, mirrors Lu Ning's emotions, their bond as unbreakable now as it was in childhood. Once fierce in her devotion, she now channels that intensity into warmth. After expressing gratitude and amazement for the chance to meet, she takes Sanbao's hands, covering them, as she did in China, with fervent kisses. Then, with the same tenderness, she moves to Pearl, and each of the girls pressing kisses to their hands, unchanged by the years. It's classic Cheska, ever the heart of this group. Finally, the Taiwanese women step forward, Mei Ling and Ya Ting, the last two pieces of this extraordinary reunion. Mei Ling, the one whose rescue sparked the entire 1996 mission, speaks first. "I'm sorry we never met, my angel." Mei Ling, light-skinned in Taiwan and extremely white-looking amongst the other young ladies, nervously kisses Sanbao on the cheek. This youngest elected city councilor in Taipei pleads with Sanbao. As children, the nice policeman always explained, we had to be apart. He worried for us because he didn't know who the evil men were. But now we can be friends, right? That's right, Mei Ling. Sanbao looks at her and then at each glowing face all around the half circle of lovely women. My wife and I hope we can come visit each of you soon. Right, Pearl? Pearl nods enthusiastically, bringing her wadded tissue to one eye and then the other. The 8 young women chatter at once at each other, celebrating this news. Last to introduce herself is Ya Ting, a lawyer. She tears up and fights off the memory-loaded feelings. My name is Ya Ting. I'm always trying to be tough, my angel, but today I feel like a little girl rescued again. She smiles bravely and appears to have much more to say, but stops herself. Each introduction leaves fresh trails of tears down Sanbao's face. Pearl looks on, her smile warm with pride as lipstick marks accumulate on his cheeks. The reunion is less about words and more about shared emotion, the weight of their history silently understood. When the last woman kisses Sanbao's cheek, Ibi can't help but think that for all his reluctance to be called a hero, he had truly earned the name Angel. All of your English is excellent, ladies. I'm surprised you don't have English names, Sanbao offers curiously. We all have English names, Angel. All of our English names are the same. We each are Wanda. She was our angel too. Molly, the first young woman to introduce herself, explains and sighs happily at the other ladies, who all smile and release some more tears as one, remembering Wanda. For a few minutes, the women take turns telling captivity stories, what Sanbao freed them from 20 years ago. They share what few dreadful stories they still remembered, some recalling more than others. Bits and pieces come out of how cruel and heartless the dirty and stinking men and women who drugged them and smuggled them into rural China. The Taiwanese girls were the first to arrive in their shared cell. Then within days, one by one, the others joined them there. Someone says how it was always cold. Others remember their symptoms of anxiety, stomach aches, headaches, facial tics, and bad dreams. Anytime they cried out or complained, they were immediately either knocked out with chloroform on a rag or beaten harshly everywhere but on their faces. After that, much happier stories. Each girl shares unique but similar reuniting experiences with their never again to be taken for granted families. All these women want to express gratitude for Wanda, Pieface, Willie, and Dee's bravery in the tense escape. They cry, remembering all that Wanda did then, their adopted mother in those days. She died in the Taiwan 9/21 earthquake less than 3 short years after their escape, crushing their recovering hearts. But they remembered and treasured her 4 visits to see them all. Sanbao introduces Ibi, the wife of Dee, and they pause before mobbing her, pulling her from her seat, half of them kneeling in front of her, the other half surrounding and embracing her. They thank her for her letters, her visit after Wanda died, and for her contacting them to come this time. It was all Colonel Shun's idea. Ibi turns a teary face to Sanbao and smiles. Colonel Sun enlisted Ibi to help him contact the 8 girls, now women. Before, Wang Sanbao had to be anonymous. We didn't know what we now know about Kingfish, then known as Maestro. Now he's finished, him and his gang. Let's bring them for a visit to encourage Sanbao. Colonel Sun and I are going to have a little talk, Sanbao says quietly to Pearl. The 8 women tell Ibi how they remember clearly during their chaotic escape. Dee was like a fatherly uncle, teaching them things, praying over them, giving them his food, never sleeping. He taught us the song, I Am Jesus, Little Lamb, and gave us toy lambs. You and your son Davy stayed with us the weeks after we flew from Macau. They share more about how Dee and Wanda took care of them. Then more about when Wanda visited them, how she brought extra pictures of pregnant Ibi with her growing son Davy on their first trip, and pictures of Ibi and 2 young sons on the next visit. Her heart swelling with emotion, Ibi remembers her copies of photos of the young girls with Wanda. Ibi feels a fresh wave of longing for Wanda and marvels at how much time had passed since the one trip she made to see these ladies, then just girls, after Wanda perished. The young women continue effusively thanking Ibi for writing letters and sharing so much news, including sad news of Dee's past serious injuries and Pieface's murder. Feeling overwhelmed, Ibi says, I think I should check on Dee. His condition is still serious. She tells them she'll be back after Dee's short visiting hour, lost for other words. She hurries past them as the 8 call out, We'll be praying, and God bless you and Dee, Ibi. After Ibi leaves, each of the young ladies shows Sanbao and Pearl pictures of themselves as young children in the time not long after they were freed. In each picture, Wanda is standing with them, from her times Sanbao arranged for her to visit them. At Wanda's insistence, they took plenty of pictures together. Later, she mailed each of them copies, including photos of themselves with her, along with duplicates of her with all of the other girls. Wanda's faith was unshakable, they all agree, and with more tears, proclaimed they will meet in heaven. All 8 young women are now strong Christians. None of them suffer from trauma-related syndromes from the kidnapping, imprisonment, and harrowing escape. Wang Sanbao felt a deep responsibility from God to follow up after the rescue. He had hoped and prayed for the best as the girls grew up, but now, seeing their wonderful health and happiness, he swells with pleasure and relief. Being here with them, now all women, all called Wanda, feels like heaven. Wanda women, he chuckles, glancing at Pearl, whom he had called his Wonder Woman many years ago, back when a certain TV series was viral, before viral was a thing. Back in 1996, after the 6 rescued girls returned to their villages in Thailand, Vietnam, and the Philippines, Sanbao remained busy behind the scenes. Even before they left Taipei, where they rested for 3 weeks before family members could be flown to Taiwan, his trusted deputies set plans in motion. He ensured each family's immediate needs were met and helped their parents find new ways to earn a stable income. Education was another priority. Through an anonymous trust, he secured scholarships at reputable private schools near their new homes, covering tuition, tutoring, and even music lessons for the girls and their siblings. Each family received the same discreet note. Hearing of your ordeal, we want to offer our support for your family. Years later, the girls would agree it had to be their angel. But Sanbao's care didn't stop there. Every family received a desktop computer along with regular in-home lessons from traveling instructors, missionaries who, with his help, later set up businesses in the community. Dentists were arranged too, offering checkups, hygiene lessons, and even braces, never asking for anything in return. A gift, they simply said. The girls never knew the source of these blessings, but the unseen hand that had rescued them had never let go. The young women take turns, their voices thick with emotion as they share the changes they are grateful for. My parents became loving and wonderful. No one was ever kidnapped from our area again. I was not the first, but I was the last. We all went to college, and my sister became a dentist. My mother made peace with her family. We could give to others and help those in need. My family tree was bitter before, but now everyone is joyful. Our neighborhood once rejected missionaries before. Now we send them to other places. My children have a strong, loving family, and I consider you part of us. Each spoken gratitude ends the same way. Thank you. Unlike the many Taiwanese people Sanbao helped, those who honored his request for anonymity, the Wanda women had made no such vow. They never knew who he was until these few days. Several years ago, Suma Lee from Thailand and Kim from Vietnam co-wrote an article titled "Our Nameless Angel Saved Us." They shared their stories, beginning with 6 girls from underprivileged families being kidnapped in 1996, then rescued by 4 strangers who called themselves the Odd Family. They also wrote of the further generosity of someone they never knew. The article was published in a well-known English newspaper and was shared thousands of times on social media. Kim earned a PhD in soil and environmental factors affecting coffee cultivation, while Suma Lee, a writer, had put her journalism career on hold while expecting her 3rd child. Together, they wrote about the extraordinary generosity and thoughtfulness behind Sanbao's arrangements, his gifts. Not knowing who to thank, they ultimately credited God. They wished they could personally thank their angel, who had made a profound difference, not only for the girls, their siblings, and their parents, but for their entire community. Somewhere out there, I have an angel, I call him Angel. I believe he is a man, but I have no way of knowing. He has watched over us in countless ways, always unseen. I was kidnapped as a young girl, held captive with 7 others, 2 from Thailand, 2 from Vietnam, 2 from the Philippines, and 2 from Taiwan. As soon as Angel learned of our plight, he financed a daring rescue. He understood that time was critical and the risk was immense. Escaping from our concrete cell and outrunning the men who hunted us is another story entirely. They should make it into an action movie, though it might be too frightening for young children to watch. Afterward, Angel invested in each of our previously poor families, the 6 of us who were not from Taiwan, making sure we went to excellent schools, had good teeth, had computers, and knew how to use them. He made sure our families could earn sufficient incomes. Without giving us money, Angel gifted each of our families, who were all destitute before, with resources to expand outward from our own efforts. In Vietnam, Kim's struggling family in the north began cultivating coffee when Angel donated many higher fertile fields and a coffee teacher, besides vast gardens and a new family home. For Han's family in the south, he gave a quadruple-sized rice field, a new big farmhouse, a pair of oxen, and land with mushroom greenhouses. In Thailand, Molly's family moved from a tiny dirt-floored store in the countryside to a fully stocked modern grocery store with smaller apartments upstairs to rent, and a larger apartment there too, big enough for their growing family, closer to Molly's parents' families in Bangkok. For Sumali's family, who lived in a shack and sold fruit from a rowboat before, Angel donated a big, strong house on the river with an enclosed private dock and a sizable motorized boat large enough to transport things and people, with an experienced boat pilot, the man who helped us girls boat to Macau when we escaped, and now part of Sumali's family, in business on Bangkok's Chao Phraya River. In the Philippines, our Angel arranged for Luning's family in Manila and Cheska's in nearby Quezon City to both get business training and driver training in order to put large taxi vans to use. Thanks to Angel, each family owned nearly identical urban taxi rental businesses and large furnished car repair garages in secure compounds, each with 3 pair of new vehicles and more than enough living space above. Besides seeing to our education, financial stability, and health, Angel gave us computers and arranged for tutors to teach everyone in our families about operating computers. You simply cannot imagine the transformation each of our families underwent. Angel gave us the means to rise from poverty where we were kidnapped out of, and let me tell you how we did rise. The day after the young women met in Sanbao's hospital room, Kim and Sumali's article was republished with even more photos of them all then and now. It became internationally viral as the women could now name their angel.
And that's a wrap for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What stood out to you? If you're enjoying the journey, please share with a friend. It means the world to me. Want to hold the whole Danshui President Plunge adventure in your hand? It's waiting for you on Amazon. And if you do, please leave a quick review. Until next time, take care. I'll be right here ready for the next chapter. See you then.